everyone, Cherries Army. Hope you're having a brilliant Friday. Match day 8, match preview, Cardiff City versus AFC Bournemouth at the Cardiff City Stadium on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Mixing this up a bit, we haven't been able to pre-record a preview for you, so we're bringing you a live stream. But we want to get your thoughts throughout the show and let us know in the chat. And if you're new to the chat, just drop your thoughts in there. We'd like to see them and we will show some comments on the screen. If you weren't able to join us live though, don't worry. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Cherries Red Army. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Also hit the like button. It really does help. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. So another tough fixture for Bournemouth coming up. We've got 2 guests coming on very, very shortly. We're going to go through both teams' previous results. We're going to look at this game in more detail. We're going to try and predict Scott Parker's starting 11. And then we'll get your score predictions as well. Let's get on with the preview. Let's get our guests on. Nice little intro there. We've got Cherries Red Own, Aaron Kaye. How are you doing, Aaron?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Kirk. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. And what a guest we've got on. He's been on before on Cherries Red Army, but it's great to have Jacob on. How you doing, Jacob?
Yeah, I'm good. Just seeing that little montage has made me excited to go to Wales tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for that.
And firstly, Jacob, I'm sure I speak for a lot of Bournemouth fans. What you are putting out at the moment, content, tactical analysis in games, pre-match, press conference notes, it's really, really good for us. It looks like you're enjoying it as well. Just tell us a bit about how the start of the season's gone for you.
Yeah, really enjoyable. I think it's gone beyond from what I expected, really. I've always known that Bournemouth's been, a close-knit club. It's a family club. And I think that's trying to engage with supporters is something that I've tried to do. Haven't been able to be on social media as much in the last couple of weeks as things have been pretty hectic. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. And obviously, thank you very much for the nice words.
And really appreciate you coming on here again. And Jacob's details are in the description. I'm sure you're following all the socials already. Jacob's own Twitter and Dorset Live as well. Let's go on with the preview then. And let's go back to midweek. It was match day 7, Aaron. AFC Bournemouth were at home to QPR. We knew this was going to be a tough game. The way that Scott Parker set up was almost like he knew we had to score a goal in that first half, because if you looked at QPR's stats, they come back a lot in the second half of games, and we did get the job done, a 2-1 win.
Yeah, it was always going to be a very, very difficult game. Obviously, Barnsley game the few days before was pretty comprehensive, and obviously changing Ben Pearson for Ryan Christie was the one change, which, as you say, certainly kind of looked on paper as if it was going to put us more on the front foot. We actually started quite similarly to the Barnsley game, where pretty much the first 10-15 minutes was all QPR, but again, not really anything majorly to worry us there. And then we grew into the game, scored completely against our underplay, and then the whole middle section of the game was us. Should have probably been 3 up when Phil hit the post, and we had various other chances. There was a kind of a 5-10 minute period when they were completely rocking, and it was just a matter of time if we were going to get that third goal. But then, although we kept a couple of clean sheets recently, we let a goal in kind of out of nothing really, and then it was back to the wall. And my word, it really was back to the wall, and it was there. Being in the stadium that last 10 minutes was, I can say many games I've watched for Bournemouth where it's been horrendous, and that last 10 minutes was up there with one of the worst of them. I just wanted to get those 3 points so badly. But QPR, credits to them, they're a great team. First time they've lost all season, comeback kings, as you said, and we predicted they'll be up in the top 6. I have absolutely no doubt that they will be. So it was a massive 3 points to follow up on Barnsley, and puts us really in good shape for the weekend.
Jacob, like Aaron said, scored first attack just like Barnsley, but at 2-0 at half time, I knew the game wasn't over. I mean, QPR has scored in 17 consecutive league games. What does this team, though, this AFC Bournemouth team, have differently to last season that got us those 3 points with Mark Travers putting himself on the line? What does this team have different, do you think, this season?
I just think it has that resilience and it has the ability to concentrate for large amounts of time. I think let's be honest, for about 30 minutes, Bournemouth had their backs to the wall as such. But I just think Bournemouth were always, I know they rode their luck at times, but they always had a plan of what to do. The substitutions with Ben Pearson, Chris Mepham coming on, they just looked, although it's a young squad, they just look like they've got this know-how, obviously, of Gary Kaye coming in as well. And I just think overall, I think Bournemouth have just become a little bit more streetwise compared to last season.
Let's look at Cardiff then. They lost 1-0 to Coventry City, Jacob. I think that was the first time they didn't score this season in the league. A bit of a surprise result for you there?
It was, but with the teams like Cardiff in mid-table or a bit higher up the mid-table, these type of results happen. I'm sure Bournemouth will probably have these type of results throughout the course of the season. It's all about how they bounce back, and obviously having a manager like Mick McCarthy, he's not the type of guy that's wanting to go on 2, 3, back-to-back defeats, is he? So I can see this probably being a bit of an issue for Bournemouth, to be honest with you, on Saturday.
What did you think of that result then, Aaron, when that was coming through? I think Coventry had a player sent off at the end, but yeah, a loss for Cardiff going into this fixture with Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't overly surprised. Coventry have surprised me this season with how well they've done. You know, that they've started on fire. I didn't have them going down, but I really had them sort of lower mid-table. So I wasn't overly surprised. I think Coventry are a team full of confidence at the moment. And Cardiff are missing some players. So I wouldn't say I was massively surprised, but I mean, Cardiff kind of are where I thought they would be. Top there, I think they're 9th. I certainly think they got a chance of making the playoffs, but probably not as consistent as others. So they're kind of where I expect them to be right now. And having looked at their fixtures that they played, I don't believe they played anyone particularly in the top half of the table, apart from Coventry. So they're sitting quite nicely, but they played the likes of Forest and Bristol City and Blackpool and a couple of others. So yeah, there'll certainly be a test, but I think they're probably where they want to be right now.
And staying on Cardiff then for this game, Aaron, this is a team that have won 3, drawn 2, lost 2. Ball possession, 47%, you would have seen in the intro video there, 15% goal conversion. How do you expect them to line up in this fixture? A Mick McCarthy team that's probably going to be organised.
Yeah, about 10 6-footers, no doubt. I think Chris Hughton alluded to the fact that they're the biggest team he's ever played. So we know where our weaknesses are, so that could be a problem for us as we come on to discuss. But look, they're gonna bully us. I think Jacob made a good point before. We're a bit more resilient than we have been. I don't think teams can bully us as much as they have done in the past. We're not such a soft touch with the likes of Gary Cahill, Ben Pearson, Jeff Lerma in there. They can all kind of hold themselves together. But it's going to be a bombardment, and long throws, set pieces is clearly going to be where we're at risk. But having said that, their record isn't fantastic this season. So yes, they might have a huge team, but there's no doubt that we can outplay them if we impose our game on them. So as other teams have done this season. So yeah, concerned obviously for some of those set pieces which are going to be coming our way. But we just have to play our game, and we should have hopefully too much for them.
Now, on previous results, Jacob, Bournemouth have tried to score early. We scored a couple of goals in the first half. I don't think we've gone behind yet this season in the league. But looking at Cardiff from scoring point of view, do you know that all their goals at the moment in the 11 have come in the second half, and only 3 out of the 19 goals in all of the games, 3 have come in the first half. So that tells me they try to get to half time, then maybe hurt the opposition.
Yes, I think that's similar to Nuno's Wolves over the last couple of years, how they keep things tight and then they have a look at half time, then they reassess, and then they either go for it, or if they're leading or if they're in a good position, then they just stay tight. It's not very good for me because I try to get the player ratings out as soon as the final whistle's done. So if the result's basically 2 or 3-0 Bournemouth with 20 minutes to go, I can kind of gauge where the result's going to end in a way. But for me, I think the balance of Scott Parker, it has to be a balance of Scott Parker and his team selection. I'm sure we'll come on to the selection in a little while. But although he needs them robust type of players just to deal with the aerial threat, to deal with Cardiff's physicality, he's also got to find the way to get good creative players in to break down Cardiff's low blocks. So the way Parker lines up for me is the most fascinating element to this game.
Just final focus on Cardiff before we concentrate on the Cherries. And as Jacob said, we're going to try and predict that lineup in a bit. But looking at this lineup, Jacob, this was a lineup that Cardiff went in for against Coventry. It's got a back five there. This is on SofaScore that we use a lot. But when I've looked at the other games, it's not very consistent. It seems to be a different formation, different lineup. We know Kiefer Moore struggled for fitness and illness this season. But looking at that team, Jacob, I mean, what's your thoughts? Can you see something similar on Saturday?
I look at that team, I think, wow, that's very, very big and very, very. I wouldn't want to defend against them. But yeah, listen, yeah, Kiefer Moore's had a difficult start to the season. I think there was a lot of talk about him going to Wolves. I heard that about a week before the transfer window shut, but obviously it's now shut, and he's still there. So, you get the sense that he's going to come good, more or less in the next couple of weeks. And you just hope, for Bournemouth's sake, it's not tomorrow. But you look at that back five and you think they've got goal threats in that back three especially. And if Bournemouth can stop giving away these silly fouls in that final third that give me heart palpitations, then I think that's going to be one of the keys as well.
And when I look at that team, Aaron, I do think if we're going to concede a goal, it's going to be aerially. We know we struggled last season from an aerial point of view. I think we've improved slightly with Gary Cahill coming in, but they're going to have a threat there with Kiefer Moore, 1 goal this season. Aidan Flint is their top goal scorer with 4. Is that where you think the goal might come if we concede?
I would imagine so. I think Mick McCarthy's going to be drilling that into them, that we can bully us. And obviously Kiefer Moore, he's going to put the ball in the net if he has a chance. We've got to stop the supply. I think it's good news that I think the lad Giles is still ill with COVID. He came on loan from Wolves. He's been very quick. So I think Rawls is out as well. I think that's pronounced his name. I think he's quite a creative player for them. So undoubtedly, I think they're going to be looking at playing, for those set pieces. As Jacob said, we're giving far too many of those away, and we're going to be punished sooner rather than later.
Let's focus on the Cherries then. AFC Bournemouth third, 15 points, unbeaten. I think we're one of 6, Jacob, are we, in the Football League? Or the 92, should we say, that's still unbeaten. And yes, as I said, we haven't gone behind yet this season. Let's look at the press conference then that Scott Parker had. He talked about Adam Smith, and we're going to come to the predicted lineups and how key he will be. But what did you make of that press conference? You were there. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, Neil Perrott asked about Adam Smith, and I had a couple of questions planned on Adam Smith, because for me, the way he's responded and came in to play 2 games in 4 days after such a difficult time at the start of the season, he's really struggled. He came back, there was fitness concerns when he came back. He didn't feel right, didn't feel sharp, and he's come back, and the intensity he plays with is pressing, and he just gives that perfect balance for sometimes Zamora just to let him bomb on, and sometimes Smith just tucks in. Make sure Bournemouth stay, with him and Lloyd Kelly and Gary Cahill just sitting a little bit more. He's been there for 7 years, and that's not including his loan spell. He's one of the most underrated players in the Championship for me. I really do believe that.
I thought this was Stacey's season, but the way Smith has attacked this season, coming back, signing a new contract, you've got to hand it to him. Aaron, though, he spoke about Lewis Cook still not being available. Junior Stanislas, we know, can't get fully up to fit either. And also I saw today that Kilkenny might consider a loan move away in January. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, he Gavin Kilkenny was exceptional at the beginning of the season, along with the likes of Ibsen Rossi as well, who also found himself out of the squad. Obviously, Jayden Anthony and Jordan Zamora have kept their places and have thrived. It's a difficult one. We always said, that position, that pivot, whether it's 1 or 2, there are players like Lerma, who's now back in, obviously, and Ben Pearson, who's now back, who are unavailable at the beginning of the season. Lewis Cook is imminently, hopefully not too far away, as well. So it's going to be tricky for Gavin Kilkenny to get game time. So I can see, obviously, the thinking of sending him out on loan. It just shows what quality we got there, because in most other Championship teams, he'd be playing. I mean, some people could say it's a bit harsh, and perhaps it is. He didn't do too much wrong. But it's a ruthless game, this, and obviously we want him to stay as a Bournemouth player without a shadow of a doubt. So sending him on loan is still going to be our player and get some valid game time. But yeah, I can understand he might be a little bit miffed. He's performed well for his country as well. So it's a difficult one. But in all honesty, we probably in reality do have 3 or 4 better players than him in that position. How hard as that might be.
Yeah, sorry, just on that, I asked Parker about Kilkenny, and I think he spoke for about a minute and a half about it just alone. I think he obviously likes Kilkenny a lot, and if down to him, I think he'd probably keep Kilkenny until the end of the season, because I think he thinks that just being in training, even if he's not in the matchday squad, will benefit him in the long run. Whether Kilkenny thinks that way as well, having tasted Championship football, knows that he's more than capable of playing in the Championship, whether he would be happy or content to stay on the periphery for the rest of the season and maybe get a third round FA Cup tie.
Just a final point on that though, Jacob. Are we potentially touching the issue with your likes of Jack Simpson, Nnamdi Offabor? We don't want to go down that road again, because Kilkenny really does have talent. The only sort of thing I picked up on Kilkenny when I've seen him live this season is maybe his strength needs to improve, but there's loads of time to include that. But on the ball, technically, how he switches play so quickly, he is a very, very good player. But when you've got the likes of Pearson, Lerma, and all the midfield that we've got, you can see the problem that Scott Parker's got.
Yeah, but you got to remember that he was playing in midfield with Marcondes and Billing. If he was playing in midfield with, for example, a Lerma or Pearson alongside him, perhaps he wouldn't get, have these physical challenges. So I'd be really interested to see Kilkenny at the base, and then with Lerma or Pearson just anchoring him alongside him, so he's not getting exposed as much as he possibly could have done earlier in the season. But I think, obviously, I think I spoke to you last time about it. There are still regrets about the way Bournemouth handled Jack Simpson and Nnamdi, because they should have sent them both on loan way earlier than they did, or gave him a chance. So I see this is a different situation though, because they've actually got strength and depth, and I think Parker's, as he alluded to yesterday, he's now open to loaning players out, where in the past I don't think Eddie Howe was.
Let's focus on that starting 11 then, that might start for Scott Parker. He's got a tough decision on his hands every week at the moment. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll bring up the lineup that started and was chosen, and that's the wrong lineup. So we'll go again. And this is what happens when you're live, is we'll bring up the lineup that started versus QPR. So that is the starting 11 from QPR. Now I've got two players that I potentially change from that lineup, and we'll have a look at this. I'm going to come to you first, Jacob. And Travers in goal keeps his place for me. That's an easy pick, and he's definitely, I was worried about Travers at the start of the season, but I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable in the last few games, especially with Kelly and Cahill in front of him. Samura, absolutely amazing, man of the match performances at the moment. But you know what, Jacob? Is this a game where Scott Parker, we just talked about how great Smithy was, but is this a game you could potentially switch out Smithy? Struggled with an illness, has played 2 games back to back, and maybe Stacey comes in?
He could, but I just feel building them partnerships alongside each other, the Cahill Smith axis, Zamora and Kelly, I think it's going to be key, because they know each other. They've played regularly, and playing against Cardiff, I think they need that understanding. And Stacey coming in, obviously after a week or so out, I think that'll be a real tough ask for him. I don't know if you want me to tell you what I think the predicted lineup will be, but I only see one change at the moment, and I think David Brooks could be the unlucky one to go out.
Mm-hmm. So what's going to go on?
I think come in on Adam Smith here, because I think I can see what Jacob's saying about consistency, and we have got a week off after this game. It's be a chance for Jack Stacey to come in, but another left ball out there, which I'm not saying I would go with this at all. But one option is to play Chris Mepham there, which he has done in the early part of the season, just to counteract the extra height that Cardiff might have. Now, I don't want to see that, because it means that Brooks or Christie, whoever's playing on the right, won't get that fullback bombing. So I'm not saying I would advocate this, but I'm wondering if it's in his mind that we might have enough attacking talent up there so we can actually play Mepham, not as 3 centre backs, but as that kind of right side, which allows Jordan Zamora to bomb forward, but gives a bit more height. That's nothing against Smith or Stacey. I'm just talking from a height point of view. Perhaps we shouldn't do that. We need to impose ourselves on them. But I think there's an argument to be made for Smith, Stacey, or Mepham playing that position.
And I probed it, but you know what? We've got Jacob on as an exciting guest. We're going to keep Smith at right back, but it was worth the ask. But I do have another position. You spoke about Brooks, Jacob. I think Brooks keeps his position tomorrow, because he came off during the second half. And this game as well will require physicality, you think? So I'll come back to you again, Jacob. I have another question to ask you. Does potentially Pearson come in for Billing? We go with a double pivot, with Lerma having the license to go on. Could that happen?
I think it could. probably would say he'll keep Billing in there. I know he's not the greatest in the air, but I think his height, if he's been given what he has been recently, where he's been given a free license in the defensive box, we just actually have to pick up anyone. He just marks space, and they just say, "Phil, if the ball's on your head, go and attack it." So I think they could keep him in there. I see Brooks coming out. Actually, I see Christie moving to the right wing, because the last 4 games, I think Brooks has been substituted between the 53rd and 60th minute. So I think there's doubts over, and that's when basically Bournemouth are trying to either hunker everything down or seeing the game out. And I see Christie going to the right wing, and I see Ben Pearson obviously coming in to anchor with Jefferson Lerma.
I love these conversations. Aaron, any thoughts on potentially what I've just said?
I think Ben Pearson definitely comes in without a doubt. I think that's a no-brainer for me. We know what he can do, certainly away from home. I think he's a brilliant player in any game, but I think away at Cardiff, I think it's a no-brainer. So him and Jeff, with Jeff allowed to move a bit further forward. Jacob has a lot more insight than us. My personal view, Kurt, would match yours. That I think that Christie played the whole 90 minutes and was exceptional. You know, I can see why he took Brooks off and kept Christie on, because Christie's got that engine, that bit more solidity in a tackle, and just that kind of never say die attitude. Reminds me a bit of Matt Ritchie actually there. Whereas Brooks is more of a luxury player, but can make things happen and has made things happen. Certainly that second goal. So the fact that hasn't played as much game time, I would personally start with Brooks, put Billing where Christie is now, where you've got him there. I agree. I don't think Billing will be out of the team. I think Billing will definitely start. It's a case of Brooks or Christie for me. It could go either way. I can see merit 100% what Jacob's saying, but I also think that the Brooks has got that extra bit of magic which could just unlock a defence. So I definitely think it's going to be Pearson, Lerma, Billing, but then I think it's a toss-up between Brooks and Christie, along with Anthony and Solanke.
At least I got Pearson in. I mean, Jacob, can I ask how good at you at predicting lineups? Just
absolutely horrendous. So yeah, please don't listen to me at all. I've got no insight on the predicted lineup apart from just before kickoff or before 2 p.m.
For this match preview, though, this is our predicted lineup. Travers, Zamora, Kelly, Cahill, Smith, Lerma with licence to go on, Pearson, Billing, Brooks, Anthony, Solanke. We want to know if you agree or disagree. Let us know in the comments. And we'll have a look at the table in a moment, and we're going to get some score predictions. I'm going to bring up the championship table, guys, just before we close out this preview. Can someone tell me, Jacob, I'll come to you first, hopefully you'll know. From what I can see between West Brom and Bournemouth, everything's exactly the same. Why are we third?
Do you know what? I don't know myself. They weight it on something, don't they? I'm not quite sure. You think if it was in alphabetical order, it clearly would be Bournemouth. That's one of the reasons Dickie Dowsett changed it, wasn't it? So I'm not sure at all.
Aaron, any idea? Because if that's the 46th game, I'd be very unhappy to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was they scored more than us or not, but clearly not. So I have absolutely no idea. No.
The remit was, though, Jacob, was to make playoffs again. We're unbeaten, as we've said. We're in good form. Yes, we got a draw at Cardiff last season. I expect it to be tight again. But you've got to say, after 7 games, we're sitting pretty nicely for Scott Parker. But I don't think we're too far away from where we were last season at this stage.
No, but what you got to remember is that the first 3 or 4 games this season, Bournemouth had no depth at all. And I think the way Parker was saying, he just wanted to get through into that first international break. He wasn't, although the Blackpool draw felt like a defeat at the time, I don't think Parker was too upset, because he was just thinking, just stay unbeaten, just make sure we get into the first international break in a relatively healthy position. And considering they've probably exceeded expectations, I think they've started outstandingly. And you said playoffs is a target. I think playoffs is the minimum at the moment.
We hope you don't lose, though, Aaron, but this is the championship. And if we were to lose, just goes to show Cardiff would only be a point behind us.
Yeah, look, as I said, anything can happen. I mean, Fulham lost to Blackpool the other week. Would it be disastrous if we lost tomorrow? Clearly not disastrous. It wouldn't be great. A draw tomorrow again. Good result away at Cardiff, vociferous crowd, and having West Brom drawn their last 2 games, Fulham lost to Blackpool, as I say, QPR obviously lost to us. We're going to lose at some stage. We're not going to win every game, and any away draw's all right. But I think it's been a fantastic start to the season. my own expectations over the last 2 games has kind of shot up again. Having seen West Brom and Fulham falter a little bit, they're not invincible. They're not, untouchables. And I certainly think the way we've been playing and beginning to play now with our players coming back and the strength and depth of our squad, like Stanislas and Lewis Cook to even come back in, and those players you've mentioned can't even get on the bench. I'm beginning to really think something special is going on here. Everything about this squad, the manager, the camaraderie, the team spirit, the youngsters, the enthusiasm, it just all seems to be going in the right direction for now. Let's hope it's not spoiled tomorrow.
If you have a score prediction, you're currently watching live, if you want to let us know, this is your moment. Drop your score prediction in the chat. I'll put it on the screen. Going to get Jacob and Aaron's score prediction in just a bit. Jacob, can you tell us a little bit then about how you prepare for tomorrow? What's involved? Pre-match, post-match? What time you go to bed?
That's a little bit boring in a way. Well, today it's just basically setting up everything, getting predicting lineups, the match blog ready. I'll get to the ground about 12 for a 3 o'clock kickoff. Have a bit of lunch, speak to whoever's there, chew the fat of whatever's going on at the time. Go to the game, live blog, player ratings, my notes that I do for the tactical piece afterwards. Obviously, after the game, Parker's press conference, probably come out of there about 7:30, find the hotel, and then just write for the next 4, 5, 6 hours. But yeah, I'm really enjoying away games. And surprisingly enough, the trip away to Hull, although the game was, I can't remember any of the game, it's probably my most enjoyable one.
I thought my match day vlogs were stressful. I was up to 1 a.m. editing that. But I tell you what, it is sometimes difficult though, Jacob. I can imagine it is for me. I'm trying to focus on the game, trying to take all the information in, but you're trying to put content together as you're watching it just to output and give something back to the club and to the fans. I mean, do you sit back sometimes and think, I can't remember certain parts of the game?
Yeah, I think the first half I can watch a little bit because obviously not as much is happening. I don't have to get anything in on time, but the last 20 minutes of a game, it just flies by. And that's why the game against QPR was so stressful, because I was thinking, please don't score now, QPR, otherwise I've got to change absolutely everything. But yeah, the second half just absolutely whizzes by, but I love it. Absolutely love it.
Right, let's get some score predictions. We have got a few in the chat. We got Mitty Bricks put some good comments in the chat. Thanks for joining us on this afternoon. 3-1. That's a famous Cherries Red Army 3-1, by the way. Mark Singleton, how are you? 2-1 the Cherries. Carol, she's doing very well in the fan hub as well for the Cherries. And that's a 2-1 to Bournemouth. Positive, as always, staying unbeaten. Aaron, then, tomorrow, how's it going to play out?
In previous seasons, I probably would have gone for a draw, but I do fancy us at the moment. I think, we're taking our chances. We're looking confident. I do expect us to concede a goal 100% from a set piece, probably. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 narrow victory.
Do you know what? I was thinking about this earlier, thinking that Cardiff didn't score in the week. First time they hadn't scored, as I said, but I do expect them to score. I don't want to just go with the standard, but I think I am. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 as well to Bournemouth. Jacob, are you going to follow us, or have you got a different scoreline in mind?
I was going to go 2-1, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. There is a slight worry because Bournemouth do need space in attack to do their best work, and I don't think they'll be given that with Cardiff's 5 at the back or whatever they play. But I see Bournemouth going 2-0 up, the usual peg back 2-1, everyone hanging on, but then I see Bournemouth counter-attacking at the death and winning it 3-1.
Probably down that left-hand side that Jordan Zimmer and Anthony are absolutely owning. Sean Cooper, by the way, must be one happy man right now. Really love this preview. We're just going to close it out in just a minute. Just want to say a few thank yous for those who have joined us. As I said, if you weren't able to watch live, let us know your thoughts in the comments about the predictions, anything that Jacob said. Aaron, any thoughts that you have on the game. Also want to thank our channel supporters as well. It really does help, so we can able to get these sort of streams out to you and all the content, the match day vlogs, match reviews as well. And Mike joined our monthly supporting members. You can join if you want to, buymeacoffee.com/cherriesredarmy, or you can make one-off donations. Anything donated goes back into the channel 100%. Aaron, as always, thanks for coming on Cherries Red Army.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Jacob, we hope to have you on a lot more in the season. We know you're really busy, but really appreciate your time and thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
And that's the match preview then for match day 8, Cardiff City versus AFC Bournemouth. And hopefully the Cherries can keep their unbeaten run going. Make sure you have a safe trip up, Jacob. Make sure you have a safe trip, Cherries fans, as well. From me, Aaron and Jacob, we'll see you on the next video. Up the Cherries.